Hi, I'm Pam, and I'm here to talk about retro video games. Today I'm talking about a game that's rather obscure and quite strange, but is it any good? It's Viento. Viento is a platformer that was released for Sega Genesis in 1991. It was developed by Wolf Team, a group of devs that would go on to create the Tales series under Namco. The story here is rather bonkers, combining 1920s gangsters with Cthulhu mythos and magical anime girls. Mafia kingpin Vincente DeMarco is working with a religious group to summon Hastur, one of the great old ones, to destroy the world. You play Annette, and she is here to smash those ambitions. She's somehow related to Hastur and is the only one capable of stopping his return. You'll be traveling through 8 stages in various locations within the United States during Prohibition era. Annette uses boomerangs to fight her foes as well as magic spells. She starts with only fireballs, but will have 5 spells to choose from by the end of the game. The first level starts out in New York City, and I was impressed with it. The sprites are large and detailed. In fact, most characters are incredibly tall. Enemies are a mix of both men in trench coats with guns and clowns riding motorcycles. You'll get attacked by gangsters in cars and ladies throwing things out their windows as you jump across roofs and balconies. It's all rather ridiculous, but I was into it. The gameplay is also very quick and smooth. You jump high and shoot fast, easily alternating between your boomerangs and fireball. You can also duck to avoid damage, though it often puts you in a position where, visually at least, projectiles are going right through your head. Your enemies explode when they die, which is always fun. Unfortunately, I think this is where the game peaked. While this level was fast, fun, and silly, later ones didn't really add anything to make things more interesting or evolve the gameplay. Stage 2 is oddly empty, focusing more on simple platforming and making sure you know how to run than combat. But it's not much to look at, and there's honestly not that much to do. Later levels are slightly more interesting, visiting places like a speakeasy and an auto plant, but nothing feels that well designed. The passages you travel through are oddly cramped, and while enemies continue to be weird and unexpected, many, like bats and flying reptiles at the end, swarm you and are so frustrating to deal with. Even areas that initially seem really cool, like one where you ride a dolphin while fighting paragliders and giant octopi, just play out oddly. If you fall off the dolphin, you just walk on water while it waits for you to get back. And while the basic controls are fine, as things go on, they become less than ideal. If you want to run, you have to mash the jump button while holding down. Magic spells, when you get more than one of them, are also used in an odd way. You have to hold down the magic button until the spell you want to use is highlighted in the UI. It can take a bit to get to spell 5, and if you want to use the second or third spell, it's fairly easy to hold a second too long and miss it. The spells are all fairly different though, and each has its use. Fireball continues to be useful throughout the game because it's so quick, but the wind spell is great too because it covers such a wide area, and the final spell auto-targets enemies around you. The boss fights, which conclude each level, are, just like the rest of the game, weird. On your adventure, you'll fight a tank inside an apartment building, what I think is a giant plant cell, and massive bubbles? I really don't know how these are related to anything. Often these bosses involve having to clear a path to the part of them you can actually damage, which isn't always immediately intuitive. For the most part, I wouldn't call this a difficult game. The platforming is easy, there are health potions hidden around the levels, and you can extend your health bar by collecting experience. However, you only get the one life. If you get a game over, you can continue 3 times, but it puts you right back at the start of the level you were on. It's not a lot to work with, and some of the enemies you face are quite annoying and can do a lot of damage pretty quick, and if you get swarmed, you can't charge up your spells. So it's kind of an artificial level of difficulty. If there's one thing that stands out about the game, besides the ridiculous compilation of enemies, it's the anime-style cutscenes between each level. These look really great and help tell the game's admittedly silly story. You'll see Annette face off against her foes and try to talk one of them, Rustiana, out of being used as a sacrifice to summon Lord Hastur. You'll also see Annette interact with her mentor Ernest, the character who would go on to star in the sequel to this game, Ernest Evans. As far as the rest of the game goes, it's not the best looking Genesis game I've ever seen, but the backgrounds make good use of dithering and the character sprites are nice. The soundtrack was composed by Motoi Sakuraba, which I was pretty surprised to learn. He's done amazing soundtracks like Star Ocean Second Story and Dark Souls. This is not his best work. It doesn't make great use of the Genesis sound chip and is pretty forgettable. I think the slower and more morose-sounding opening and intermission tracks are better than the more upbeat ones that accompany the levels. Viento is a strange game. It starts out well enough with impressive cutscenes, fast gameplay, and a collection of wacky and anachronistic enemies. However, as it goes on, the controls reveal themselves to be unintuitive, the level design is underwhelming, and the bosses just aren't all that interesting. This is a quick playthrough, and there are a few highlights, but it's not going to blow anyone's mind. I could take it or leave it. If you want to see more, check out my review of Wonder Boy in Monster World, or another of my videos. I have a Patreon if you want to support my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.